So here it is, only 3 or 4 weeks late, my San Diego Comic-Con video. So how this is going to work is after the title, there will be a brief video that I shot in my hotel room. Then there will be a video that I shot while on the floor of San Diego Comic-Con. And then we'll cut back to me, and I will be talking over some footage that I took. Then there will be another brief video that I took outside the convention center. Then the rest will be me talking over various videos and pictures that I took. So that's exciting, right? Sound good? We're good? All right, let's go ahead, do this so that we can all go home and enjoy the rest of our weekends. Go ahead and roll the thing. Hey guys, Sean here. So I am in San Diego. I am in a Motel 6 in San Diego, and I'm about to head over to San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm using this handheld Steadicam thing here. As you can see, the camera is being supposed to be steady using it. There is one problem with it though. It's really kind of heavy, and it is not that easy to hold up. So I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be using it. Well, with both hands, maybe it's a little better, but I don't know that I'm actually going to be using this because it is not easy to hold on to, and it also kind of wafts off to the side there a bit. I thought this would help when walking through conventions with keeping the camera kind of steady, but I don't know. We'll see if I actually use this, because holding this up all day would be very exhausting. So that being said, let's head out and go to San Diego Comic-Con. Alright, I have made it onto the floor of San Diego Comic-Con, and it is already extremely overwhelming as to where to even begin at this place. I had to go get my lanyard and then the bag that's on my back here. There was a pin in it. It was a Joker pin. I'm sure a lot of people will want that. The bag has The Crimes of Grindelwald, which is the next Harry Potter movie. All the bags are different. Well, not all the bags. There's a certain number of bags you could possibly get, so that's another thing that I'm sure people really want. So here's the plan. At 1, I'm going to head over to the Nerdist house because they're having a live Talkin' Tunes with Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche, and then they're having a meet and greet with them, and then they're doing a Geek and Sundry meet and greet and panel thing. So I want to see all that. I should probably actually head over there at 12, which means I have an hour here in the actual convention hall. So let's get to it. Wow, that was just riveting stuff. So let's go ahead, switch over to this mode so we can check out some of the things that I filmed while I was there. First off, we have this. So these are the upcoming figures in the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series line, and I have all of the figures in this line. They're all on my wall right now. I should do a video about them at some point because they're kind of a big deal to me. So Batman the Animated Series, I think, is one of the greatest cartoons ever made, if not the greatest cartoon ever made. And the subsequent spin-off series, the Superman series, is fantastic. The Justice League series is fantastic. And Justice League Unlimited, I think, is the greatest comic book cartoon that has ever been made. So all of these are coming out next year. We have Batman the Animated Series version of Two-Face and the Grey Ghost and the Scarecrow and Hardak Batman, and then there is a Batman with the Bat Cycle. And as you can see there, they are all coming out in May of next year, and when they do, they will be on my wall. Now here we have the Justice League figures. These are based on the Justice League cartoon, and for these you have to sign up for the DC Universal subscription in order to be able to buy them. And what that is essentially DC is making their own streaming service, but along with streaming, it also includes comics and then exclusive merchandise. So they're kind of taking all these different things that various companies make. Like Marvel has their own Marvel Unlimited, where you can read a whole bunch of comics for a monthly subscription, but then there's also like Hulu and Netflix. And so they're basically just taking all those things and putting them into one subscription. So I will have to sign up for that for at least a month in order to purchase the Justice League figures. because I need to complete the collection. Because that's what collectors do, right? Right. And speaking of collectors and collecting, let's go on to the next thing. And this is the Lego booth. So here we have a giant Lego statue of Thanos from Infinity War. And a lot of people standing around looking at that. And as you can see, just a lot of people in general at the Lego booth. But the main thing that I wanted to see is this over here, and that is the Lego Voltron, which of course I now own because it went up for pre-order and I purchased it. Right here, this guy's carrying it because he was able to purchase it at San Diego Comic-Con. So I believe it was either waited in line or they had some sort of lottery system where you were able to get in line and then purchase things. It's just so crazy the way things work at San Diego Comic-Con because the lines are ridiculous. You got to get there first thing in the morning and line up at one thing, and then you might be able to purchase something as a result of that. But I didn't get there early enough to do anything like that. So it ended up working out anyway, since I was able to pre-order it before a whole bunch of people because I'm a Lego VIP member. So I'm glad I didn't wait in a line for that. But speaking of lines, let's go ahead and look at the next thing here. And that is this. This is the line that are people waiting to buy things from the Funko booth, to buy their various Funko Pops that were exclusive to San Diego Comic-Con. Now, there were only 2 that I wanted, but I didn't get in the lottery in order to purchase anything from this booth. But as you can see, even just walking by it is a pain because of how many people just want to walk by and see it. So the 2 things that I did want, I ended up getting one of them on eBay for a very reasonable price. I think it was only marked up by $5 more than what they were selling it for. But the other one is going for $100 on eBay, and I think that's $30 than what they were selling it for. So I haven't gotten that. I should probably ask people to buy that for me for my birthday next week. But yeah, you can see just how excited everyone is standing in line waiting to purchase their tiny plastic figure. So because of that and how crazy this was, and I had been there for about an hour, that's when I stepped outside and recorded this. Okay, yeah, that was a lot right there. There's so many people in there, and that was an hour. It is now 12, so I'm gonna head up the street to the Nerdist house and see what they have to offer. Hopefully, far less people, because wow. So Nerdist is the website that was started by Chris Hardwick many years ago, and then it was sold to Legendary Pictures. And around the same time, Geek and Sundry, the website that was started by Felicia Day, was also sold to Legendary Pictures, and now the 2 of them exist under a platform called Alpha. And so Nerdist had rented out a space that was about 2 blocks from the San Diego Convention Center, and they called it the Nerdist House. And so what they did is they had various things going on here. Let's take a look here. So here you see they have some of the various shows that they have on Geek and Sundry up on the wall here. They had this for Nerdist as well. And then here they had a stage where people could come and watch them interview people. So when I got there, I was going there because there was going to be a live presentation of one of the Nerdist shows that I absolutely adore. But when I got there, there was a ton of people, and I had no idea why. So apparently they were doing a Nerdist News Talks Back about Avengers Infinity War. And so I saw that on the schedule, and I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting, but I didn't know why so many people were there. Well, it turns out the reason so many people were there is because they were not only just talking about Avengers Infinity War, they were also going to be interviewing Paul Bettany. So that's what we have here. That is, of course, Paul Bettany, who plays the Vision in all the Marvel movies and is a very well-known actor if you know actors. And so that's what's going on here. Paul Bettany was being interviewed. So that was kind of exciting because I wasn't expecting anything like that. So once he was done, then came the thing that I was there for. Well, at least that time in the day that I got there that I was there for, and that was a live recording of Talking Tunes. Talking Tunes is, of course, Rob Paulson's podcast. There's Rob Paulson right there, singing The Nations of the World. And he had 2 guests on, the first one being Randy Rogel here, who is the writer of most of the music from Animaniacs, including the Nations of the World song, which turns out was the piece that he auditioned for Animaniacs with. So if you've never heard the Nations of the World, it's essentially a song that lists all of the nations in the world, at least up to the point that the song was written in the early 90s. There has been a lot of changes in geography since then, and in fact they have written an update to the song since then. But if you want to check out the Nations of the World song, I'm sure I could link to it. I'll link to it up there in the corner, so somewhere on YouTube. I'm sure someone has it up illegally. But then after that, he brought out his partner in crime, Maurice LaMarche. Now, Maurice LaMarche, of course, played the Brain in Pinky and the Brain, and Pinky, of course, was played by Rob Paulsen. Now, I have met them before. I can't remember which convention it was, but I met them a while back at another convention. I'll link to that up there as well, where you can see all about that convention that I went to and met them and talked all about them. And so that was really cool to see them do a live Talking Tunes podcast, and I was very excited for that. And so then, let's go ahead and we'll go back to this camera. So I stayed at the Nerdist house basically for the rest of the day because there were various other things that I wanted to see. And actually, right after that, enough people cleared out to where I was able to get a seat. And that's what I really wanted, was to sit down, because I am an old man. So I sat down, watched various other things, and then there was a Geek and Sundry panel, and they had various people from Geek and Sundry on, and then they had a meet and greet for the people from the Geek and Sundry panel right after that, and that's what I wanted to do last. So I went to the meet and greet area to meet the Geek and Sundry people that I wanted to meet, and they were like, okay, you can go ahead. And I'm like, but they're not over here yet. And they're like, well, we're doing a meet and greet with this guy. And I was like, okay, but I wanted to do the meet and greet with the Geek and Sundry people. And well, this guy's ready, so just go ahead. I'm like, all right, sure. So I went up and I talked to this guy, and then he signed some things, and then we talked about my shirt that I was wearing and the bag that I had, and then we took this picture, and then yeah. So I don't know who this guy is. He's on the Lost in Space remake that's on Netflix. I've never watched that. I can't tell you his name without looking at IMDb, but yeah. So that was interesting. I got kind of forced into a meet and greet. So that was a thing that happened. So there were a bunch of people from Geek and Sundry shows, and I'm not going to get into great details about all of them. One of them was Erika Ishii, who I talked about in my, what was the first convention that I went to this year? The WonderCon video where I met Erika Ishii. I talked about her in that, so I got to talk to her again. And then I met Becca Scott Smith. Now, Becca Scott Smith, she does a bunch of videos on the Geek and Sundry channel where she teaches people how to play various tabletop games. In fact, one of my friends had sent me one of these videos, not knowing that I knew about her because of Geek and Sundry and all that, because I was going to go over to his house and play one of the games that the video that he sent me was about. So when I ended up taking this picture, I sent it to him, and he's like, did she teach you how to play a game? And I'm like, ha ha ha, and whatever, what friends talk about. But yeah, this is Becca Scott Smith. She was super nice. I told her that between her and the Rules Girl is another YouTuber that does videos about various tabletop games and how to play them, that they were the two best at that on YouTube, and she was very flattered by that because she knows of the Rules Girl as well, and they had actually done a video together at some point. So that was cool to be able to tell her that. And then what is the next picture there? I believe that is the end of day one for San Diego Comic-Con. So for day two, I showed up, I walked around for quite a bit. I didn't take any video of that because if you've seen any of my convention videos, I am so bad at taking footage when walking around conventions and finding interesting things to look at while at conventions.
But the main thing that I wanted to do on day 2 was Kind of Funny was there. They had done a thing on Thursday night, and Greg Miller hosted a panel in Hall H, which is the huge hall at San Diego Comic-Con, and that was also on Thursday, but I was driving there on Thursday, so I didn't get to do either of those things. And so on Saturday, he held a meet and greet at the Skybound Comics activation, they call it, I believe, which was at a restaurant down the ways from the convention center. And he had Andrea Renee there as well from What's Good Games and Kind of Funny Games Daily. So I ended up going to that, and here's the picture of the two of them. Of course, I last spoke to Greg Miller at E3, if you saw the E3 video, and I met Andrea at E3 as well. So I'm not meeting either of them for the first time here, obviously, but this was just, it was really nice because there was only like maybe 13 people at this meet and greet, so it was very intimate, and that was really cool. We got to basically talk to both of them for like an hour. But then something really crazy happened, because since this was a Skybound Comics thing, they had rented out this restaurant to do all sorts of streams and stuff throughout the day, and so people were just coming in and out, and one of the people that walked in was Nolan North, who is one of the most prolific video game voice actors in the world, if not the most prolific video game voice actor, because he was promoting his show that he does with Troy Baker, who is also another prolific voice actor, called Retro Replay, and him and Greg are good friends, so Greg just called him over and started talking, and so then I got to get my picture taken with Nolan North as well, and I got to tell Nolan North that whenever I read Deadpool comics, I always hear his voice as Deadpool, because he has done the voice of Deadpool and all sorts of things. And so that was the highlight of my San Diego Comic-Con, was I got to meet Nolan North and tell him that his voice is stuck in my head. Because that's something you do, I guess. But yeah, that was really cool, and that was the best. Getting to just like stand there and talk to Nolan North for like 10 minutes was fantastic. There was like a falcon or something that just flew by my window. That was weird. But anyway, I digress. So that was the end of day 2. And then on day 3, there was only one thing I cared about. So I walked around the floor for the last time, and then there was the Critical Role panel. Now, of course, Critical Role I've talked about quite a bit in the last 8 months. Maybe I haven't. I did 2 whole videos about Critical Role. So Critical Role, of course, voice actors playing D&D every week. So they had a panel here. 3 of the cast members were there because of conflicts, 2 being a baby, and then the other being that she works on Blind Spot. So that was really the big capper to my San Diego Comic-Con. And so at that point, once this was over, I went out to the street to catch a lift back to the hotel, and this really just kind of sums up 2018 for me, really, just in general. This is, to me, the pinnacle of 2018 is one of these bird scooters just in a bush. So, if you're not familiar with the bird scooters, because I don't know if they've made their way outside of California, but in major Southern California cities, these things litter like every street. They're basically these ride-share electric scooters. So you sign up for an app, and then you walk up to one of them wherever you may find it on the side of the road, and you scan a barcode, and then it charges you, and then you can like ride it around. And people hate them with a bloody passion. People have been setting them on fire and throwing them in rivers and all sorts of crazy stuff because they're an eyesore, because they literally just litter the streets. And various city governments are stepping in, and they're like, you have to wear a helmet if you're going to be riding these things. So now people have to wear helmets, and they're upset about that. And yeah, so the fact that I just saw one of these just thrown in a bush, I found very, very much appropriate. And so that is going to do it for my San Diego Comic-Con 2018 experience. Now, as I have stated, this was the first time I ever went to San Diego Comic-Con, and so it was overwhelming. Like people tell you that it's crazy, but they cannot prepare you for what it actually is. Now, the big question is, will I go again next year? I don't really know. I haven't really decided if I want to go again next year. I think maybe that by having gone this year and just feeling it out and experiencing everything and all that, that it might make going again a little better. One of the main things about it was being out of town for a convention was quite different. And being out of town by myself for a convention was something I had never done before. Because yeah, I go to conventions by myself all the time. I go to like at least 4 of them every year by myself, but this was the first one I went to by myself out of town. I've gone to CES before, but never by myself. And so that was kind of a lonely experience, I will admit. And also, it probably would have been better had I gotten a hotel room that was right by the convention center, as opposed to one that I needed to hire a lift to get to and from. Like, one within walking distance of the convention center would have been much better. However, those would be super expensive, probably $200 a night. So I don't know, we'll see when the opportunity pops up again to get a badge for next year. We'll see how I'm feeling at that point about it, but like, as for right now, I don't think I'll go again, just because it's so overwhelming. And there's 3 perfectly fine comic book conventions right here in San Diego is in Southern California, so right here in the LA area. So that's going to do it. So we will do the last thing we got to do here for all the convention videos, and that is to put the people that I spoke to on the conventions board. So that is going to be Becca Scott Smith and Nolan North, who I met for the first time, and then also Greg Miller and Andrea Renee, who I had met before. So let's go ahead and put them on the board. So, as you saw there are only 2 conventions left this year. There is Long Beach Comic Con, which I believe is in just a few weeks, and I haven't gotten tickets for it yet. I should probably do that. And then also the Los Angeles Comic Convention, which I still will call Kamikaze as long as it exists. But as for this, that will do it for this week's video. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more of the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to help support the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.